Right, using MMA maths to solve Pereira versus Ankalaev. I'm going to take a quick look at each of their fights with the one and only common opponent that they have. The great Polish power, Jan Blachowicz. So I'm going to quickly go through both fights and look for clues. We'll start with Alex versus Jan. Now in the first round, Jan came out hotter than his wife. Seriously, well done, sir. No feeling out process, none of this testing the striking bollocks. Nope. First thing he did was jump in for a takedown. I don't think there was a single punch thrown. And then what happens? He nearly gets fucking subbed. A really tight guillotine from Pereira. In fairness though, Jan eventually did get the takedown, but Pereira, with a black belt on his back, attempting rear naked chokes. And he survives. And I'm not just sucking him off, but he stayed calm and he defended methodically. Jan managed to get him down again in the second, but Pereira won that round, piecing him up on the feet after. Jan was struggling with the cardio, having done more wrestling than he normally does. Potentially a situation Ank might find himself in if he chooses to wrestle early, as he usually typically only goes to the wrestling later in the fights. Also, it's worth noting that Jan versus Alex was at Salt Lake City, so it was at high altitude. So both of them were dealing with that in this fight as well when comparing both fights. Side note, I fucking hate it when cards are at high altitude. The UFC get to control where they have events, yeah? Why would you choose to have a card somewhere that the fighters aren't going to be able to fight at their best? Do you not want the fights to be entertaining? Anyway, back to Jan versus Alex. The third round was mostly back and forth on the feet, with Pereira getting the slight edge, with a little cheeky takedown from Jan at the end. The fight was only 3 rounds. It was a very close fight. In my opinion, it could have gone either way. And if anything, I honestly think Jan probably edged it. Judges thought differently. Now, reflecting on that fight, it's also worth noting that typically Jan uses his grappling more often than Magomed does. And Jan has more effective submission game than Magomed. I mean, Jan has 9 submission wins. Let's play a game. Guess how many Magomed's got? 0. The people thinking Magomed's just going to go in there, take Alex down and submit him, they're just incorrect. They're racially profiling. They've got him mixed up with Chimaev. Even if Magomed went in there and thought, fuck this, I'm taking him down, there's nothing on his resume that suggests that he's going to be able to do that any more effectively than Jan was. In fact, when Pereira fought Jan, he was fairly new to the game. Between then and now, Alex has been making massive strides in his MMA grappling and anti-wrestling. And if Magomed himself is basing how he thinks the wrestling's going to go based on that fight, he may be in for a rude awakening. In fact, you might want to sit down for this hot take. It's probably going to make some of you throw up in your mouths. But Magomed has been submitted in the UFC more times than he's submitted anyone, right? Paul Craig submitted him with a triangle choke. I'm going to say something crazy and say that I think it's actually more likely that Alex Pereira submits Magomed Ankalaev than it is the other way around. Now that is an extremely hot take, and you heard it here first. I look forward to hearing from some of you in the comments. But before I get too carried away, let's take a quick look at Ankalaev versus Blachowicz. First off, no glove touch. So you know Ank was coming in hot like he's going to be against Alex. Unlike the Jan Pereira fight, this one was 5 rounds. The first round was just back and forth striking, about even, no wrestling. Second round was similar, both a little bit more aggressive, and Jan started to implement those leg kicks that instantly started to affect old Maggie. Towards the end of the second, Magomed tested the wrestling, but didn't really have any success. And in the third, Jan continued with the leg kicks, and by halfway through the round, Magomed's legs were more fucked than Sugar's wife. But right at the end of the third round, Magomed gets a takedown. And then, in the fourth and fifth, it was mostly control time by Magomed. But importantly, when considering the Ankalaev-Pereira fight, no submission threat or meaningful ground and pound coming from Ank. Certainly nothing anywhere near fight ending. So when you look back at these two fights and then look on to the future matchup, there's a few big questions. Can Alex Pereira leg kick better than Jan Blachowicz? Will Magomed pursue the wrestling as much as Jan did and as early? And how much has Alex's takedown defense improved since the Jan fight? Right, now not to take anything away from Jan, right? He's brilliant. In fact, I think he's underrated and doesn't get enough flowers. Here's his wife again. But I think generally most people would agree that Pereira is more effective at leg kicks than Jan. I don't think that's a crazy statement. Alex is known for 3 things. His left hook, leg kicks, and smashing the back doors in on that influencer girl. Will Magomed wrestle early? I think he will. I'm sure he might test his striking with Alex a little bit, but I don't think he's going to fall into that Pereira trap. I know he's coming in angry with Pereira and he's been giving it all that Johnny Big Potatoes online. But he wants to win and he knows where his biggest advantage lies. He will attempt to wrestle early, but he doesn't normally do that. So I can see him starting to get tired after a round or two of that shit. I also think people underestimate how much of Alex's training over the last couple of years has been wrestling focused. Just because you don't see it in the cage doesn't mean it hasn't been worked on. People that have trained with Alex have mentioned how physically strong he is when he's clinching or grappling. I think Magomed will probably get Pereira down, maybe a couple of times. But when he has him down, crucially, I don't think he'll be able to get much off. And I think it'll all happen in the first half of that fight. And by the end of that fight, given enough time, Alex is eventually going to get the better of him on the feet. Simply put, when Alex is on the ground with Magomed, he's not in any real fight-ending danger. When Magomed is on the feet with Alex, he is in fight-ending danger. When you consider those two factors and then throw in there that more time of this fight, I believe, will be spent on the feet, Alex should win this fight. When you look at how effective Magomed is on the ground and how effective Alex is on the feet, I think it's a fairly safe bet. It's looking like a good card. I've already made a Gagey versus Hooker video. Let me know in the comments if you're interested in seeing a King Bobby versus Mauricio Rufy video, because that looks like a fun matchup. Anyway, if you like this video, give us a sub. Check out this playlist of recent bangers. See you next time.